Okay, so hello and welcome back again to the Code Maven channel and to the meeting with Ferki about Rex, Rexify, and how to automate installation stuff. So hi, Ferki.
Hi everyone, it's good to be back.
Yeah. So people who are in here or who are going to come on the video, there is the chat, and you're welcome to ask questions, and we'll get started. We discussed about. Sorry, we discussed a couple of ideas to do. One of them was that we had previously to reboot a server. Another task was I configured a CGI and then PSGI and then a Starman system, and I blogged about it, and I automated it with Rex, the installation of it. But I would be really happy if Ferki reviewed it and improved the places where it can be improved. And I also made an installation of an ELK stack, or partially ELK stacks, or Elasticsearch with Kibana and metric beat, actually, not Logstash, installed on a single server. And I automated it with Ansible, but I would like to have the same thing, or a better thing actually, with Rex. Just in order to see it. Okay, so these are at least a couple of things, and we discussed a few other things, but these are probably, even these three are going to be a little bit too much for today, right? Did you had any? Did I miss something, or other idea that you wanted to do?
No, I think those were the main ideas, right? Follow up maybe on the multiple operating system support from last time, if that's interesting. That would require us to figure out the file system layout differences in, I don't know, FreeBSD, CentOS, and so on. That was one idea. And I think you mentioned the rest. Review the Starman deployment script you wrote the other day. Maybe the fastest would be to start with the reboot from last time, because I promised the solution for that and I just prepared it. I have a short example in a gist on GitHub. I can just share the link in the chat. I think that's the easiest. So this one. Maybe you can even copy paste most of it.
Just a second. Just a second. Thank you. I've just got a tea.
Excellent.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay,
it's
so
tea time in the UK, right? So
sorry.
Right on time. It's exactly tea time in the UK.
Time,
so right on time.
I don't know. Okay, so let me share the screen. If I find the screen sharing thingy, yeah. Yeah, okay. And suddenly, for a second, I didn't know what I'm going to do. So, okay, so now we can see the website. And this was the link that you shared. Okay, and what I needed is I don't have a server now up and running. So let's start. It doesn't matter for this script if it's Ubuntu or CentOS, right? Does it matter?
It shouldn't be. It will try to execute the reboot command. So I guess that's
actually, you know what? I'll create. I create now an Ubuntu one, and that's what we can use, because I will need that for the Starman thing, or at least that's how I implemented it for Ubuntu. Okay, so this is going to, and I'm using my own computer now as the management server. So I didn't create a separate one. So therefore I use my own SSH key, and this is going to be called Rex demo. Okay. Okay. So while it's booting, let me get back, and I guess I need to copy paste it somewhere, right?
Maybe we can just go through it quickly if you scroll down a bit, because
that's it, right?
That's the whole task, and I try to include a lot of extra logging and debugging info in there, just to make sure it's easier to follow what it does, and it prints about the progress. So the idea is basically on the current connection server, it executes the reboot command, and
okay.
it should
Let me try to
somehow
wait a second. Let me try to read it, okay? Because
all right.
okay.
Good
So
thing.
there is okay. So here is this. Whatever is this, I don't know yet. This is going to be the IP address or whatever of the current connection. Okay, of the current. So when it's running Rex, it has multiple IPs that are multiple hosts, and for each one, it will be the current IP. Get port, whatever. Okay, it's supposed to get the port number that we are connecting to via this SSH, I guess, and that therefore you default it to 22. But as I understand from this, I didn't know that, or actually I could know that you can run SSH on other ports as well. I used to run it on another port, and I guess you can configure Rex to use that other port. And here you just get that port number from the configuration, I guess, right? Of the Rex file.
Yes.
Or
yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So there we go, and just log whatever that we are going to do this uptime before, just to see what is the uptime. So we just ran the uptime command on the server and print it out. Then we run the reboot on the server, okay? And then we print out waiting for shutdown. So now we are calling this isport open, which I guess is a command of Rex, right?
Yes.
The keyword of Rex, and it gets a server name, so an IP address or whatever access there, and the port number, and checks if the port is open, and sleeps 1 second between every request, just so it will take. Okay, so probably I would put here something. So there's a question here, and tell me. So what if it doesn't come back? If the server doesn't come back, never comes back for some reason, then we'll probably have to have some timeout here, right?
Yes, exactly. So there's no timeout in this process yet. And there will be actually two waiting loops, because one wait for the shutdown to actually happen. Maybe you already experienced in some cases, if you issue a reboot, maybe it even takes a minute or two to shut down. I don't know, especially big servers which run a lot of services or have to shut down properly all of them and flush all the data to the disk and so on. That might take some time to shut down. So first we have to wait for the SSH connection to really go away. So the port should become unreachable, and then we start for it to come back.
So basically,
or actually the second one.
Oh, so this is basically okay. I read it, but I didn't whatever. Didn't integrate into my mind that here we are waiting for the shutdown, not the coming back. Okay, I understand. Okay, so okay, and so as long as the port is open, wait. Basically, okay, good. And then we say as long as it's not open, wait. Okay, then we are waiting, and then now we know that it's back. Okay, so get current connection object, reconnect, whatever. Okay, so why is the isport open is just a function, and here you need to call Rex something, and here, well, the logger, maybe I understand that you don't have an info, even that sort of. So that's in here you have that's like it Rex get current connection, and in here you just have isport open.
Yes, above we are importing a module from the Rex core distribution called Rex command simple check.
Okay, and this brings
that exports the isport open function, so we can call it in a simpler form. But for example, the get current connection object is not exported by default, so we just call it directly.
Okay, so just so I personally prefer to explicitly say all the time whatever I import here. because then it's easier to see what's coming from where.
Sure.
Okay.
We can include that, yes.
Okay. And then okay, and Rex get current object reconnect. Okay, so so at this point we don't have the connection, and then this reconnect, and then we'll check the uptime. Okay.
Yes.
Shall I try to run this?
We can, definitely. And I have like 2 quick remarks. You mentioned the timeout. What I implemented here is really just the happy pass.
Yeah.
For the timeout, I can imagine like 2 different use cases. For the first one, I can imagine that there could be some trouble shutting down the server, and it would be up even after 10 minutes or so, right? Somehow it fails to enter reboot. So the connection never terminates. So for that, there could be one timeout. And there could be also a timeout for how much time we would like to wait until it comes back. So that could be a second timeout. So I was not making it more complex by adding all that, but
I put here to do.
It's definitely useful to include timeouts. And also that's why I think last time it was a bit hard for me to come up with a very simple answer to the reboot question, because there are a lot of little nuances that need to be part of the dance around the reboot. And I chose instead to just get prepared.
And why is this? So what is this say format? It's not even used, I see. So
the say format is also a Rex command, and for
it comes from here.
That comes from use Rex on the top.
Okay.
That's a default that you get when you issue use Rex. The say format controls the command line format when you print out things with say. So I specified here that please put the %h, that's the macro for hostname, please put that into square brackets, then have even a marker, an angle bracket, leave a tab, and then print out whatever the message is. Because I really would like to see which server is being rebooted. So if I issue it on, I don't know, 10 servers, I want to make sure I understand which one is at what point of execution. The save format is fully documented in the Rex module. So if you go to MetaCPAN, you can read more about it and change it if you like something else better. You can include the timestamp and so on.
Let me check it. Okay,
yeah,
this one.
Format.
Okay.
There's a similar log format as well, but those are the supported macros.
Okay, so where is our server now?
It was probably already finished booting up, right?
Yeah, I thought I created one. It doesn't show me.
Yeah, I remember you named it Rex demo. And
yeah, but it's not. This is like all the servers. I don't know. There is I have no idea what happened now. Okay, let me try it again.
Maybe we didn't click at the right button.
Yeah, I have no. I know. Maybe I don't know. Let's call it demo 2.
Now that's coming up apparently.
Yeah, maybe I moved away from. I don't know. Really strange.
Now it's up. Cool.
Okay. But now copy. Okay, so
Great.
obviously the uptime is really low, so now we won't be able to see that, but let's whatever. Okay, so -h and what was reboot, right?
Yes. I have a quick question about Zoom. It has a bottom bar which currently hides what you type. Okay. So if I don't touch stuff, it will be hidden. Okay. No, it's
Yeah.
fine. I needed to wait for the timeout.
No,
I
you're
saw
right,
it.
but it's also when you put, I keep forgetting that when you put a new YouTube, then it also has the whatever bar.
Okay.
So
Okay.
people don't always see the bottom part, and especially when it doesn't disturb you if you do everything up higher up the screen, but when you're typing at the lower line, that's bad. Okay, so let's try to see what happens now.
Now it's visible, I can confirm.
Okay. Okay, something it didn't like me.
Warnings. And now it failed.
Because user root. Okay, I didn't use user root, but let's see what's the story with the odd number in the exporter. So it didn't like this one, I guess.
Could be.
Okay, let me try to check again. Well, let me try this way. Okay.
Minus u root to use.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure without the root that it doesn't print the warning. Yep. But no, it doesn't. So there is some strange issue with this importing there. And now, all the time that we were talking, it went up to 1 minute, 2 minutes now, the uptime. Yes. So we'll actually see that there is a change.
And it was fast to shut down, but it needs some time for SSH.
Yeah. Yeah, it would also, it might be also interesting just to print out how long did it take, just for the fun. Okay, so it seems that it's up and it's 0 minutes, so we are done with it, right? Okay, good. So I just added here these to-dos and this another to-do, and then we can take a. Let's go keep doing more Rex things. Let's go over the other things, and then maybe we get back to this one and actually look at the code if we still have time today and energy, and look at the code and see if we can fix this or understand what's the story. Okay, so that was one thing. Then now that I have this server, the Ubuntu server, let me go back to, actually, that was on the Perl Maven website. I don't remember exactly where I put the code. So on the Perl Maven website, I have this.
I think
this
that was
one.
it. Yes.
Sorry? This one?
That was it, yes.
Okay. So I have this. It's in the examples CGI to PSGI directory, but actually in work. I don't know. I open another one. And you can still see it. Okay, so it's perlmaven.com examples, and it was CGI to PSGI. CGI to PSGI. Okay, so this is where I have the whole thing up. Okay, and this is the Rex file. Okay, so the way I did it to make it I don't know, more self-contained, whatever, easier for me to run it all the time, I just added a group called and code it all. and put hard coded the IP address, and then it made that I didn't have to put -h the IP address, but instead of that I used -g and all. So it will, right? So was this okay? This is the IP address, I think, right? If I go back to the,
I think that was it. Yes.
yeah, okay, I will still have had it. Okay, so that one, and I also set the user as root because in this case, that in this example, so I wanted to make it super easy. Maybe it's better actually to move them out, and in the in this article, so in this page, when I say Rex, I think at the bottom I'd say it's only explained here.
I think it's the last one. Yes.
Yeah. So it's probably better than update it here and have it here, because then then anyone who wants to try doesn't have to edit the file, right? So maybe it's better to.
I already made a note about, let's take a look at the inventory options quickly. But let's finish through the Rex file first.
Okay. So I just had here this just print host name just for the fun of it. Okay, so I can have this. Let's go back to the bottom just to show you. I created a task called setup that goes over all these tasks and then calls do task on each one of them. So I can create, so that I can create these relatively small tasks that do more or less one thing, and then just call one after the other. Okay, and then I install Apache because I think Nginx doesn't support CGI, so external things. So anyway, I showed it with Apache. Set up Apache, so upload the configuration file, then set up the CGI part, so that's uploading the Perl CGI script, then upload a Perl script which is written in PSGI, so basically a copy of the original CGI script but now running in PSGI, and then set up Starman, which is an application server in Perl that allows to run this PSGI as well. And then I can verify I even created tasks that verify that these three versions are actually working. Okay. So let's go over all of it. If you feel that you would like to comment on these already, then.
I made a few first notes. So let's just, as a listing, one is, I mentioned the inventory options. I think it might be useful. For example, you can use an external file as an inventory. So you can separate code and data, right? The inventory will be different for everyone who tries this script, but the code can be the same.
Yes.
Right? You're just configuring it. So that's one. Also, that might be interesting to take a look at is how to specify default target for the task. So currently there's no default target, which means it would be executed on the local host unless otherwise told to. And you tell it otherwise.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. What do you mean default target? Default?
Each task can have a default target to execute on specified.
So the remote host, the remote host that we are working on, or?
Yes, remote host or remote group.
Okay.
I will show you in a minute.
Okay.
It's also in the documentation. It's like, for example, you want to run, I don't know, all the Apache tasks on the web servers. You can specify that this task is designed to run on web servers, right? And then the web server is a host group in your inventory. I think, for example, Ansible has a similar concept. You probably noticed. You can limit hosts and so on, and group hosts. It's the exact same idea. So if it's not specified, the default is local host in Rex. So it's not just remote execution, but local execution as well.
Okay.
and you are overriding this implicit default with the -G on the command line.
Okay.
The command line always wins and overrides what is written in
Yeah.
code.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
default target as a topic could be interesting. I think I just spotted a typo in this regard in the article. You showed that you are executing with rex -G, and it's a lowercase g. I think the group is uppercase, but I have to check.
It worked for me this way, I think.
Yeah, maybe for that it's both. Yeah. For the group, both could work. Yeah, as in the help. Excellent. Thank you. But as you can see, for the host, which is the kind of logical
Yeah,
kind
for the
of
host, it's just capital A.
just uppercase, because the lowercase is the help, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was the split. And my brain defaulted to minus uppercase G because that's like does not have any other meaning, or yeah, cannot be
Okay.
confused with something else. All right.
So installing
Also,
Apache. Sorry, did you want to
I
say
think,
something?
yeah, just a couple of more things. One,
Okay.
I noticed that you already use two different styles for the task specifications. Just before the sub keyword, sometimes we use
Okay.
a
I just
comma,
noticed. Yeah.
sometimes a fat comma. Both are good. Personally, I prefer the standard comma because that plays better when we start adding default targets. So I think it's, again, the same idea I mentioned before. If you use default targets, I think you would just naturally default to standard comma.
Okay, so you say that I should replace. It's better. It would be better to replace these ones, the fat comma, right?
Yes, and I think if you come back to the default targets, you would agree and understand why I mentioned this. But again, this is just Rex code. Rex code is just Perl code. It's valid Perl. So of course it worked for you. That was your preferred style to work. And
It's probably because of the way Dancer works and.
Yep, all good.
But it is actually. Oh, I know. Okay. That's an interesting thing because every time I try to explain how now I made them. Now I have both here.
Yeah.
When I explain how Dancer, for example, works, or all of these route-based things, then this is something that needs explanation because it looks like a really strange syntax of if you're not used to it. Okay, I guess I replaced all of them. The fat comma here, it looks strange, but in the end, and then this whole thing. This actually, even this task something, the way it's written is now from various resources. It's familiar, but I think for many Perl developers, it might be strange that this is basically just the function task getting parameters, 2 parameters in this case. Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
a name and a code. And there are others, but that's quite advanced topic. We can
actually
look at it because there are
wait.
task modifiers.
I have to put these in quotes now, right?
No, you have to put it. Yes.
Yeah, because with the fat comma I didn't. So that's why I actually
auto quotes the left hand
yeah.
side. Yes.
So now I have to change all of these as well. Okay.
I mean,
no, I like it
I
less.
think it will be more obvious why I prefer the comma when we take a look into the default target. But of course, this is just style, so choose your preferred style.
I'm going with you now.
I even usually just enforce it with Perl tidy and so on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Perl tidy might not be. Yep. Excellent.
Okay.
And the remaining 2 notes I made is the last one, the setup task. That's a very common pattern to have a task that coordinates other smaller steps and orchestrates them in some kind of order. In this case, it's just sequentially going through. There's no decision, just a for loop. So there are quite a few alternatives to do that. You use do task. That's very nice. There's also the run task and needs. Slight differences are between them, but we can go through it. And there's also an alternative for what you did. There's an alternative, the so-called batch. It's possible to define a Rex batch instead of a task, which is a ordered sequence of tasks. So you can run it as a batch from the command line. That's the same idea. It's just really different flavors of the same idea to make sure that everyone can choose their preferred like grouping method. Or also, not, maybe it's not just preference sometimes, but like the exact use case requirement might mean that for this specific use case, only the needs would be good. So that's why they are different, right? Otherwise, they would be just aliases. And the last thing I noticed by scrolling through it quickly is especially visible, I think, in this setup task.
Okay.
Which is, so in this setup task, you list all the other tasks you want to run. And I think it's kind of visible that there are some grouping possibilities. Like there could be an Apache module to handle the Apache related things. That could be a Starma module, a CGI module, and so on. And if it would be a module like CGI module, then the CGI module could contain a task setup. Then you don't need to prefix it with setup underscore, right? So if you choose to refactor it into modules, then the module would have the namespace.
Yeah.
It's fine. We did not look into this, just had this in mind with the Nginx examples earlier. So we can also look into that if you want.
Okay.
But I think the main thing regarding this, that it works. It's a single file, quite easy to review and understand what it does. So up to this complexity, I think it's very common and fine to do it like this. But of course, things tend to grow. And then just like in normal software development, you split off some logic, put it into a namespace because they are related somehow together, and then start calling them like that. So again, it's just per code, so the same software development principles can be followed.
Okay.
All right. So should we look into these points or take a closer look?
Let's go over the rest of the tasks. The tasks. Let's go over the tasks.
Finish the full review. Excellent.
Yeah. So installing Apache is just updating the list of packages, and then we say that ensure that the Apache 2 is present and it's started.
Yes.
Setting up Apache is I had to remove the default configuration file. I think I had to. I'm not sure, but I removed it. And I copied and I used the file the directory structure here, so that all the files that I would like to upload, they are under files, and then they are in the same location where they are supposed to be on the server. Okay, and here just to show you, here is so these are the CGI and the PSGI scripts, and here are tests that I wrote, which are not deployed. I'm using just locally to verify that these things work.
Yes.
Okay.
That looks nice structure.
Okay. So setting up Apache, removing the default configuration file that was there, copying the one that I have.
Yes.
And then enabling CGI mode. So now, and this I'm not sure that I did, because it's sort of, I'm executing something instead of, how was that you said? Instead of declaring that I want it to be enabled. okay? And I had to enable, so this is for the CGI and the PSGI when it's run on, when it's executed in CGI mode, both CGI, and then the proxy and the proxy HTTP is because so the proxy I needed so I can have reverse proxy, and the proxy HTTP is because the way I executed is that Starman was listening on an HTTP port, and this was just connecting to it, and I needed it in Apache. And then I had to restart that after installing all those. I needed them to be restarted. Which I guess I could say something like that: if any of these changed, then restart. Yes, if any of the 5 things here changed, then only then restart. But
yes, if
and maybe
there's a command, if there's a command to check if the CGID module is enabled already or not, you can just run that and put it into an if block, like you make a decision based on the current state. So that would ensure that if it's not enabled, it will enable it. If it's already enabled, it just skips. Yeah. And in that if block, you can also just collect it in the variable, like restart needed equals 2, right?
Yeah.
It's the same for the file changes as well. Like on a change hook could be specified that please give the restart needed variable a true value, and then at the end, if restart needed, then restart the service. But it's doable, and that's what I meant, that over time things grow with the logic. So it's already shaping up as a Apache module where all these little details are handled.
Okay. So there is this to do. Maybe I put it at the bottom here, so because it's important for the not restart
for the service.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So setting
it's
up
also
the
nice. I just observed that what I usually call configure, you call it setup, but I can make the translation in my brain. It's your preference, so we can work with that.
I'm bad with names.
No, it's all fine. I mean, naming has to be established in every project, so we call it setup.
Okay, so here I had these comments partially for myself, partially for the readers, because they are not the readers of the blog posts, who are not in any way are expected to know Rex. So I thought it would be good also for them to have these comments. So okay, here I make sure that the directory is there, the CGI bin directory. Then I copy the CGI file, make sure that it's executable. Then I have to install the CGI PM. I created a loop here because when I started to build this, I didn't know that there is going to be only one module that I need to install. I thought I'll have, and at the end I left it like this. Maybe I could just give package a list here, right? I don't know if that's possible.
Exactly. If
a reference to an array.
If it's an array reference, then internally it will do the same.
Okay, so I will say that basically what I can do is my packages equal to this list, and then I can say packages.
Yes.
Like this.
Basically, you have a typo. It's PKSG. Maybe it's also worth typing it out like my packages, but it's fine. Or you can already just call it $packages and pass an array reference. Maybe it's more readable a bit. I don't know.
Right? No, instead of the. I'm not sure.
Yep. Yes.
And then Python programmers feel familiar because it's now a list.
Yes.
Okay. If I
Yes,
don't
there
put the
are-
Q, if I don't put the QW, then it's look.
Yeah.
Look, we are rewriting Python. We just don't have to remove the semicolons.
I think if you start writing not even too much Rex code, uh, then you will discover a lot of similarities and familiar constructs than in other solutions or even other programming languages. And as I mentioned, I think last time or at the first time, if you really want to write Python here, that's also possible with inline Python, for example. So
Yeah, I'm okay
there are
with her.
deeper modules for that. That's
Okay.
part of my talk, which I call unexpected Rex use cases, but it's possible. It was not designed like that, but since through the power of CPAN, you can write Python if you want.
Okay. So now here I added this verification that I basically execute the CGI script on the command line on the server and then verify that it executed and then check if the output contains this text, content type text, blah, 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 whatever.
Okay.
And well, partially I did this because when I first uploaded, I forgot, I don't know, whatever I forgot. Maybe I forgot to set the execution or something, so it didn't work. Or I didn't have CGI or whatever. But then I found it's actually a nice thing to have some way to also verify that basic things that they are working on the server before moving on. So if because if at the end I get to the point that everything is installed and then I visit with my browser the CGI script and it gives me a 500 error, then I really don't know what went wrong. Yeah. And if I put in these whatever checkboxes or whatever points where checkpoints, okay, where I check where things are, these things are working, then I know that which broke, which part broke, or easier to do. Okay, and everything is in just an eval block because this could die. The run could die if the CGI wasn't executable, for example. Okay, or if there wasn't no Perl on the server, or not or the CGI PM module is not installed. Okay, this I think this basically probably this is what happened, that I didn't have the package installed at the first time I tried it, and that's why I started to add this. Okay, and then it re-raised the exception. Is there an exception handling inside Rex besides just wrapping around with eval or using try tiny?
Exactly. No built-in exception handling as of this moment. I personally believe there are already enough modules on CPAN to do that. So everyone can just pick their own preferred way. For example, try catch.
Yeah. Okay.
And so on.
And then, okay, I don't need this here anymore. I left it in apparently, okay, because I'm calling in the list, so I don't need this one anymore.
Okay.
Okay, I guess, and also probably this one is going to have the same feat that it's already was included there. Okay, good. Okay, so this was setting up the CGI, and basically from this point, CGI should work because the Apache is configured and the module and the script is there. PSGI is basically another file, also set to be executable because I want to be able to run it in CGI mode. It needs another module, so my packages equals to, okay, I'll rewrite this one as well. And then packages, yeah, okay. So again, I was prepared to have more packages. That's why I had this, but at the end I only needed one.
I really like the structure that emerges through these slight refactorings already.
Okay.
We did the same in the previous task. We probably will do it a few times, so that's a good pattern, and it will be a great candidate later to factor it out, make it common pattern.
Yeah. Okay.
Same with Starman.
Yeah, Starman has the same thing, exactly the same thing right here. So
while you are rewriting, I just quickly describe why I like that pattern emerging here, because I think it makes it quite obvious if you look at it that the list of packages to be installed by a given task starts to feel like a configuration. It's the same logic each time. These pair of lines, my packages, something, something, and then ensure they are all present. So of course there are options to make it, I don't know, into a configuration file or ini file, YAML, JSON, whatever you prefer. Or even it could come from a database, CMDB, that's how we call it in Rex, the configuration management database. So it could be simplified later, but it's also quite readable in this form.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure. In the times when I was using Ansible, where I use Ansible, then like they put everything in separate files, and especially when it's small, it drives me crazy that you still have to look to 10 files to find out what's going on, instead of looking at one place and then understanding. And it makes things more reusable. But yeah, okay, it depends. I also we had to copy here this the configuration file of the systemd service, and then there is and now we have the Starman service. Now that we have this configuration file, and I make that it's ensure that it's both started and enabled, so even after reboot, we'll still have it.
It's actually enough to do the first with Rex. The ensure started does both.
But is it a good thing?
Well, if you need it to be started upon reboot, then it's a single command to do that. If you just need to start it right now, then you drop the ensure and you just execute the direct service command, which is service start.
So you say I don't need this?
Yes, but let's check the documentation, because my memory can fail me. Rex command service. I think it should be written.
How do you search the documentation? Do you
just write it to the cpan search field? And
Rex, how do you say Rex command?
Rex command service. I wrote the module name, but probably Rex service could work as well. Yeah, top.
This is what I get.
It's commands. I mean, okay, Rex : commands : service. So that's what I wrote. But if you simply write Rex space
commands.
Service. No, Rex service, because you want to manage a service. It also should be top result for Rex commands service, because that's the module which does the service management.
I usually am not using the search for this, because I didn't find usually. Sorry?
Okay, like I just acknowledge that you are not using the search feature of MetaCpan. I rely on that. So
not yeah, interesting. My feeling that it doesn't give me right answers usually.
That's not good.
Sorry?
better search. Let's contribute a better search.
Yeah, that would be a fine thing to work on. Definitely.
I think they would appreciate it, yes. And I think it's based on Elasticsearch. So
yes.
Yeah, if you go down in the exported functions documentation, there's an exact example. That's too much, sorry. Yes, ensure that the service will started at boot time. So service Apache 2 Ensure started.
Okay.
Also, similarly, if you go back a little for a moment, similarly, like ensure that service will not be started just below the previous example, that's the ensure stopped. So it's like stop it now and make sure it's not started on boot.
Yeah.
The ensure started is start it now and make sure it's started on boot. The key difference here is the presence of the ensure option, because it's like I want to make sure this is the state of this service, right? Like it must be running or it must be stopped. If you compare it with the other examples, like how to reload or restart a service or start a service, you can notice that the ensure is not there.
Yeah.
That's the difference of managing it declaratively versus imperatively.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small difference. Maybe the documentation could be rewritten to highlight this more. Though I found it, I think, logical to express it like this.
Okay.
So we simplified already a couple of things. That's good. Next one.
Okay, so these are all the setups. There were all the setups, and then now we have the verifications. So here, I actually looked for, I found Rex user agent, something, I think. I think I found this one, and I had no idea what to do with it or how to use it. I thought I could use it because it's already something there. So
that in the Rex helper namespace, there are some helper modules and routines that are mainly for internal usage, because Rex itself often has to interact with APIs. For example, if you want to provision new instances on Amazon or inside OpenStack, you interact with the API over HTTP, right? And for that is a helper module.
Okay. Anyway, what I wanted to do here is that to access the CGI script through the Apache, so as the regular user would do. Actually, I guess now this is being executed on the server, even though I could execute it locally as well. Okay, or maybe it would be even better to execute it locally.
Yes.
And what I do here is just to go over it. I create the user agent. I get the IP address of the server, of the current server, build up the URL. That's the URL. This is what the CGI script knows to do. Not much. And get the content and check whether it has hello foo in it. So it's just basically checking it, and then there's also trying it with a post request, the same thing. Okay, and raising exception if it's not working, and then the PSGI is basically the same, just the actually it's incorrect because now it's also accessing the CGI. Okay, you see, it's also accessing the same CGI. Not the no, I'm wrong. PSGI.
PSGI,
yeah. Okay, PSGI. So they are okay. So I wrote them correctly. They are accessing the PSGI, and then but this is the CGI mode, so that's why they are in the CGI bin directory. And then there is when I'm accessing, and then there are two things that I think I actually tested only one of them. So the Starman runs on port 8081, and it's shared out to the outside world primarily for the demo. Okay, normally probably in production I wouldn't expose it to the public, but for the demo I wanted to again be able to access it separately. So this goes to the Starman directly, yeah, I guess so. And then there should be also 2 cases when we are testing the Starman version through the Apache web server. And we can add that in a second, just we have to run this. Okay, so let me run this while we are, so Rex.
Okay, I made notes. I think we finished with the file. I made some notes during that, and we can go through that again. But let's run it.
This one. So basically, Rex -G all setup. That's what I have to run. Rex -G all and run. Okay.
Setup. No, setup. That's how the task is named.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Good. So it will keep working. Okay. Now, in the meantime, we can
just to clarify. What you asked Rex to do now is to run the setup task, which is just iteration. Oh, yeah, iterating over all the tasks you showed.
Yeah.
And with -G all, enforce that every single task you execute is having the target set to the all group.
Yeah, which is here.
That's yes. That's why it works for you, and that's why it's also the verification runs on the all group, which is a single remote machine currently. There are ways to enforce local runs if that's interesting, even if you specify.
Yeah, I think we can do that. First, probably I would like to make sure that this is finished running, that everything is running, and then probably commit the changes back. So if we make further changes to this code base, it will be separate. Maybe I can. So git status locally. I changed the Rex file, and there is now this Rex log file also. So git
because it's still running.
Yeah.
You don't have to update.
No. Git add -m refactor code with Ferky. Okay, good. So I committed that. I'll push it out, and then it will be updated on the website as well.
Yes, we did a couple of refactors, but then also we just simplified some things, excluded some calls. So it's not just refactors, but I think
it's
we already improved things, so that's good.
Yeah. Okay. So what comments? Oh, there were a couple of things, but I don't in this repository I don't keep such a strict rule of commit messages, because I mean, I'm fixing primarily it's me just writing my articles. So this in this repo is just the content of the website.
Yeah,
all the examples and text and that's it basically. Images. Okay, so what else can we do here?
All right. So I think it would also make sense to just list what I noted down, and then you can choose from this extended list which one to take a look at, which is the most interesting for you.
Okay.
The first one, what I noted, was about the setup Apache task. Like you put it into a to-do item, just to keep track of changes so we know when to restart. And I already mentioned that you can put it into an if block, like basically each run or each file could be.
Okay, let's do that.
But wait, there's an alternative. That's why I say it first,
okay.
and then we decide. For
Okay.
example, with the file command, you can use the on change hook,
Yeah.
like we did last time. So that's good.
Mhm.
And for the run command has also different but similar hooks, which is called unless or only if. So you can specify that run A to N mode CGID unless it's already enabled, right?
Yeah.
So we can look at that hook. So that's one idea. We can
But
put
that
in.
it needs so it's not enough to run this unless it's already installed. We also have to update this variable that
Yes.
that
Yes. So
needs restart.
yes. So if you need to do more and more, then it makes sense to put it into a block and go through one by one. So that's why I said like multiple options. Let's choose the one that fits most. And I think let's check the run commands documentation. Let's quickly open it because there might be other interesting options.
Yeah.
I think at the first session I mentioned that at the core everything we do is just file manipulation and command running. So usually, I mean, not usually, but like that means that the file command and the run command has the most amount of different options available, because that's really the core competency of Rex, right? So
Yeah.
that's the most versatile function of it. So yeah, I will keep an eye on that. But let's go through the other options.
Before you get there, in the meantime, I switched here and it's done. So we can take a look at what it does actually. So not only that the verify executed, but also we can come here. I think if I just go to this, well, it shows the content of that page. It doesn't matter. CGI bin, and it was bin, and it was, I think, up.cgi. And the thing that I wanted to show, which I didn't test, so I can pass here name equal Ferki, more or less. Okay, and okay, so that's one of them. And the other part, but what I really wanted to show is in this CGI script, if you pass it PID1, then it prints out the process ID. And the whole point of this article was that if now I reload this, every time I get a new number, because in a CGI script, it runs every time. And then I also have the PSGI version, almost.
SGI, yes.
Yes, almost. Okay, and this one, because it's running in CGI mode now, in this URL, it has the same thing. It gets new addresses. But if we go to the
every time you load it.
Yes, new process, yeah. But if we go directly to why is it this? I don't remember now. Do I have to write it the session? It's strange that why do I have this now? Slash CGI bin up PSGI. It doesn't matter. I don't need that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you need that.
It answers anyway. Whatever right, it doesn't matter. The way it's configured, it answers anything. It's the same thing. Okay, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's in the Apache config, right?
No, this is not Apache yet. This is just Tarman.
Okay.
Okay, but in any way, yeah, it's the way it's done. So actually, it's better to fix this here. So I don't need this whole thing here. It's just probably confusing. Okay, so I should be able to pass here name and Ferki, and then it answers. Okay.
Yep.
And if I pass in, and something happened here, and if I pass in, well, if I just pass in nothing, then of course it just says hello. And if I pass in PID equal 1, or doesn't matter what, then it gives me the process ID. And now if I reload it, you will see that there are basically three numbers, up to three numbers, switching between them. Because the way I started the Starman server is that it has three workers. So it's switching between all those three. And that's one part of the point I wanted to show in the article. Part is the rewrite, and part is the fact that now we don't load the application again and again. And now if I remove the port number, okay, and type in Starman, I think that's how it's configured with a slash. Okay. Yeah. Then it returns, and if I give it name and Ferki, still Ferki. Okay. Okay. Now it's
multiple ways to greet me.
Now, if I give the process ID, it's the same. These are the same numbers basically that we saw earlier, because it's the same PSGI. Now it's just giving to the same service, same worker all the time, but it's switching between those three numbers. Okay, so if I'm already there, let me add this string. Sorry that I jumped now for something else, but now I do this without the port number. No, but I need /Starman, because that's how it's configured. And here are also /Starman. And I don't try the process IDs. I mean, I could test the process.
Sorry, do you still need the slash there too?
Yeah.
In the post? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is how I configured it. I could change it probably, but this is how I configured it. So let's just run this verify Starman. Okay, and hopefully it works. Yeah, okay. So it checked all of them. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So among my notes, if you can switch back to the list.
There is something now that I don't fully like. I just realized. So I copied all these variables.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the warnings of recreating these variables.
Right. Maybe at the top you should put strict use warnings, right? I'm not sure if it's there now.
Ah, it's not enabled by default?
Looks like it's not. Let's check it now.
Yeah. Much better. Okay. So.
Okay, yeah, we got a bit strange message, but no, it's like we know it has warnings.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm finding you all kind of interesting things.
But it still runs, and
yeah, it's just a warning, but I just realized that I didn't write it properly. So.
And I think this part that you copy pasted a few times could be also a good candidate to do a proper refactor. Hit that, like passing to a function, basically a URL you need to call, and some optional parameters.
Yeah.
And you can check what the expected output. It almost just feel like a test.
Well, yeah, well,
which we can also do.
I'm guilty of liking to write tests.
We can do
okay. That. Good. Was one. empty line here, and then I can, something didn't like me. Because now I renamed it already.
Starman, yeah.
Yeah, I started to rename, and then I figured.
Or inside the block, you can use the same name, yes.
Yeah, that's why I put these blocks, because.
All right, you can also commit this if you want.
Sorry?
I think you might want to commit this.
Oh, you're coming to change. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we added some functionality, added use strict and warning programmers, and put it into blocks. Feels like time to commit.
Okay.
So one thing I noticed was the package loops. You already refactored those, so that's good. And one thing I wanted to mention is testing. Because I think in a couple of places you already use code that feels like tests. So one approach is exactly this, what you just wrote. You have even a dedicated task for that, and please run this because it runs some code and I'm curious if it's all successful or not. But since you also mentioned that you like to write tests, and like Perl, I think, has nice testing culture in general, and a lot of nice testing modules. Rex also has its own testing mini framework built in. I'm not sure if that would be really interesting to go into right now. Just be aware of it, and because it works by spinning up a virtual machine locally through KVM or VirtualBox, what you have and what you configure. And once this virtual machine is up, it gets its IP and runs the task you ask on this virtual machine. So for example, setting up all this Apache, PSGI, whatever, like running your setup task, right? And then in this test, you can write various assertions like, do I have this package installed? So you can list, I don't know, Starman, Apache, a couple of other packages.
So wait a second, but it runs a local virtual machine, right?
A virtual machine, yes.
So what are you testing there? You're testing Rex itself, no?
Yes, you're testing the task you wrote with Rex. So the output of your
assuming that
automation should be 4 packages installed, right? Then a couple of services running because you have a Starman service and an Apache service. And then you have a couple of files that should exist or not exist because you're deleting files. And there are also a couple of files where you are interested in the content. Like, does it match specific regular expression, or does the checksum matches a known value, and so on. So those are infrastructure tests that you can write with Rex. But also you can express things like this, like if I connect to this URL, do I get the expected result as an answer? And you can wrap it inside test because it proves that what you just wrote with Rex is working. In this specific case, it feels more like an application test, right? Because you have a web application which takes some parameters. So these tests could go into the application test, but the infrastructure part could go into the Rex test.
Well, so sort of I mean, in this case, what I wanted to verify is that the whole thing after installation works. So I have the separate test files that I test just the application, but that's but many cases it happens that once you install it and configure it with Nginx and whatever, or Apache in this case, then something that doesn't work. And I wanted to show, and that's why I sort of, it's strange to me that you're starting a new virtual machine locally, because well, it's better than nothing, but it's different from the actual deployment location. So
yeah, I mean, what I described is today's status quo. Currently, the Rex test module does this: fires up a new virtual machine,
yeah,
manages it, and checks the state of it after the task finished.
yeah,
In testing, that is often the case that you do things like this. You don't deploy it to production, but you put it into some development or staging. And this is a quick way to locally develop Rex tasks to verify that
yeah, right, yeah,
starting with the known state, like companies and organizations tend to have, I don't know, a golden image that
yes,
all our machines are start from this state, and then configuration management takes over. It simulates the exact same process. Of course, this virtual machine could live in on a remote server, not just locally as well. For that, Rex has to be configured that please don't execute the libvirt calls locally, but on this remote libvirt server. That's also fine. Should be fine, yeah. Yeah, that's a way to do like test-driven infrastructure. I just wanted to mention this. I think we don't really have the time now to do this. You also don't have local virtual machines, but you want to use droplets for that. So that abstraction is currently not there to do easily. So we would need to implement it on our own. It's just possible. So this basic building blocks of testing are provided by Rex.
yeah.
And the output could be, I mean, you can even run it with proof, right? The standard testing tools. And you can get a top output out of it. So you can use the standard tool set against Rex code.
Yeah. By the way, I was thinking a little yeah, sorry. I saw that.
Just like, because otherwise, often the tests for such automation, like infrastructure automation, are often missing, right? So if that, since it's just per code, my thinking about this is that it would be nice to have some way to test my code, which manages infrastructure. And for that, I need an endpoint to manage.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say that I was thinking a little bit about, and I'm not sure, new visitor arrived. Hi. I thought about a little bit about Rex and examples and testing, and it would be, I don't know if you already have these things, but it might be interesting to create this cookbook like Rex files. For example, install a CGI script written in Perl on Ubuntu, and then you have this Rex file, and in the test system of Rex, okay. So in the source code of Rex, in the CI system, you would actually launch a DigitalOcean droplet, okay, with you can upload to the CI system some secret code that would allow you to create an instance and run the Rex file, verify it, and then you will have both tests, like end-to-end tests for Rex itself, and you will also start to build up this cookbook style examples. Okay, well, these are working, so it is not necessarily, it's not that this is the way or the only way or the best way or whatever to do something, because you don't, and usually probably there's going to be relatively small examples, okay, but then they can be executed and then be exposed to the world as cookbooks. So just what I had an idea.
Yes, sure. Rex already has this concept. There's a Rex build project, which we used in the older times on a dedicated build server. And from Jenkins, we run these tests specified in that repository. And that was proving that Rex can actually manage various different virtual machines in the described scenarios. So for example, we had a Ubuntu virtual machine or like various versions of Ubuntu, then Debians and Fedora and Gentoo, FreeBSD, OpenBSD, and so on. So the code is there, the service is not there anymore. It became basically impossible to maintain over time because it was one central service to know them all. And for a small unfunded project like Rex, it was like not really sustainable in the long term. And the idea about that is the Rex build repo can be transformed into something that anyone can just download and run against their own infrastructure. So if someone has Solaris, they can do their own Solaris testing, which I cannot do because I don't have access to Solaris. I also don't have the knowledge. And just like, I mean, the real big vision about this approach is that just like how CPAN testers works, it would be nice if we find a way for the testers to share their results back. So we can display it on a website that, yes, Rex can manage Solaris, because what we have in the code base, those are more like unit tests, right?
Yeah.
So those are not integration tests or not functional tests.
Yeah, that's what I see many times, that people have these unit tests, and examples. In the so some of the Perl modules, let's say, have examples and a separate directory with examples, but many of the examples are a little bit contrived and like instead of creating a module and loading it, because let's say the idea is to create a module and then use it, create a module based on this tool. They don't do this. They have the test script, and in the test script, they on the fly create the module in memory. But that's not how the real code would work. And I would prefer to have real examples, fully written out. It's much easier, at least in my opinion, to learn from. And when okay, this is how you would normally write stuff in a smaller examples.
Yes, and the other related idea I'd like to share is if you go to CPAN, for example, you can notice that you cannot really find the Nginx module for Rex, which you can just download, install, and start managing Nginx with Rex, or no module to manage Apache or MySQL, whatever, like these major things. And part of the answer to that is due to the nature of Rex's approach. The users of Rex, in my experience, only automate their own use case, and they are not incentivized to have a full-blown or a generic Apache management module, which can be shared responsibly and maintained on CPAN. So, for example, like you are also managing Apache in just 5 lines. And I think many Rex users don't feel the value of sharing that 5 lines back to CPAN because it's also highly specialized to their own use case. It's not generic enough. But also, since it's just 5 lines to solve their own problem, it's everyone can do that 5 lines. I mean,
what would be in that module? Let's say in Apache in this case.
For example, the abstractions for various operating systems.
Okay, that's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
The directories and the package names, service names would be slightly different. And if you take a look at other automation projects modules, I don't know, if you take a look at, I don't know, Nginx module for Ansible, you would find the same. Like do this, do that. This is just a lookup table and
Yeah,
do slightly different thing. I mean, do the same thing but with different resources.
exactly.
And then also probably various templates for the common use cases. Like you only need HTTP, or you need to redirect it to HTTPS. So there would be common configurations. But some others would need, I don't know, just these two config lines. And for that, they cannot use the provided template. So the template should be generic enough that anyone can just describe their own parameters. So it would be essentially, in the end, probably just a mapping between Nginx config options and a variable name or a data structure in Perl. Maintaining that does not feel like I don't know, a good task, because if there's a new Nginx version with a new config option, this module has to be changed. So finding that and putting all that work into a generic module, I think is much higher than the amount of work needed to just solve my own use case. And I think most of the users are stopping there, which is fine, because that's what Rex helps them to quickly reach their goals. But this is my opinion why no big ecosystem emerged yet. And that's what I'm working on as a maintainer, that I'm encouraging people to put your modules on cPanel. Like I mentioned today, we are putting the template toolkit module for Rex on cPanel. It's already there.
I have a couple of ideas about this, but let's discuss it after the video. Okay?
Yes, it's a long topic. Let's discuss this further, but it's like I definitely want to see it happen, and I want to enable people to do this. And I'd like to encourage people to step up and be the maintainers of the Nginx module in Rex, right? And I might even contribute, and I can help personally even for that. But right now, today, I also don't feel like I have the capacity to responsibly do that, to promise that I will maintain it for the next 10 years, because I already maintained Rex for 10 years and it's already taking a lot of resources. So in the background, it's really about building this ecosystem.
Okay. Shall we go back to the code?
Yes. The last note I made is about the locality. Like you mentioned, that your verified task is running on the remote, and you wanted to run it on the local machine.
Okay.
I think that's the easiest change. Maybe you want to already do it. Two options. If the whole task is not supposed to connect anywhere, there's a task prefix called no_SSH and then space. You just write it before the task, and this becomes a no_SSH task.
So this runs local. So wait, this means it will run locally.
Yes. Let me check the exact syntax, but I think it's underscore and not without underscore.
Yeah.
Inside, it's also implemented just another command. It just disables the connections.
And like in the
no SSH task. Yes, it's in the Rex commands module. That's where it's.
So.
I just commented in the chat.
Okay,
and
just a second.
I will comment the pair. So before you write anything, you can compare which one you like or which one fits your purpose, because the other one is a local block. So not the whole task, but only the block will be. Yeah.
So before I do this, host name.
Okay.
Okay. So I just put it here. My host name. Host. Something is incorrect here. Okay, now it's better. So let me first of all run it this way. Okay, again. So it should print out the host name where it's running, and it's running on code dash Maven. So it's running locally.
Yes.
Am I? So this code runs locally, but this code runs remote. Okay, sorry.
Yes, I mean, yes, the Rex.
So this is not the way
right,
that
runs locally, but manages the remote.
Yeah,
so
okay, so I had to
run hostname. Yeah,
run hostname. That's what I need to write.
exactly.
And it gets me a list or scalar list, right?
You can write dollar there because it will be a single line. I think it should work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so now it's.
So you're right, of course. Rex executes on your local machine. That's why this name gave you this.
So there's no point of using this. So now I know that right now the run command executed on the remote server, and you put here the link no SSH. So I need to put no SSH the way you actually told me earlier. So
yes, and also you can open the alternative to compare and choose.
Wait a second. Let me
sorry, I
slowly.
I had some echo from your side.
Yeah, but it's new, or you had it earlier.
No, it's just from the past minute.
Okay, I didn't do anything probably, so it's Zoom decided to echo back. I don't know.
Hopefully
maybe.
It's all good in the recording. Yeah, and now you can see that it didn't go anywhere.
So now it says code Maven because it's running locally. So the run, when I executed,
the host name?
Supposedly be remotely. Now for it's the remote, so the run is executed locally here. Okay, and the other one, what you said, is
also put it into a local block.
Okay, and then that specific thing will run. Interesting.
Yes. So it's like if you want to be explicit about the locality of the code.
So you would just say, let's say, local. And non-local, right? Just accept that
yes.
That's it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't like me. What happened? Syntax error somewhere.
We missed the curly, I think, somewhere.
Local.
Maybe it's local and needs a semicolon at the end.
Yeah, that's why I saw it, but I didn't see your example. I think it's written this way.
No. What I mean, after the closing curly, it needs, because now it will be a label. No. I don't think the current code is.
No, it's not what.
Because the keyword is called local, but
okay.
It has an ending curly brace.
So it's this way.
Yes.
So it's not a label.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how to write labels. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's
only that block was enforced to run in a local context for Rex. So that being said, the important thing is, if you remove that, what I wanted to show with this is that there are ways to be explicit in your code about your intentions. Your intention was to run it locally.
Sorry, just a second. I just saved this thing in a separate file. Okay.
So if I understand correctly, your intention was to always run this task locally, because you want the local machine to connect to the remote server over HTTP with the help of the user agent. And this express intent was missing from the code. So one way to do that, based on the scope of what you want to make local, is making the whole task local with the no SSH.
Yeah.
Or just some lines with the local block. In this,
yeah, but I think it's better this way.
Sometimes you need a task where just
in this case
run locally. Yes.
No, in this case, because the whole task is from local, right?
Yeah. So just to finish up this locality story, I think with your syshostname test, you already showed that, of course, the Rex lines are running locally, and the Rex functions are reaching out to the remote server only. For example, file and run and service. So your task was already local. It was just by reading this, it was not obvious, right? So that's what we fixed. Because if you remember, when we put use this hostname, and my hostname was hostname, then you
I just preparing the next blog post.
Yes. So this is again about, I think in the first session we talked about it, we always have to keep in mind that there's a difference like where Rex runs and what Rex manages. Because,
sure. Well, it should be. It sort of should have been obvious to me, but you start thinking and then start writing.
What I wanted to show with this, there are ways to specify explicitly your thinking about the code with the help of local and no SSH. But in this case, you already were correct with the implicit rules. I think it's just more obvious what you wanted to write. So that's it.
Okay. This whole using LWP user agent and the thing, we can't have something nicer. So we should I use the built-in the helper? Is it a good idea? Is it not a good idea? Can I even use it?
I wouldn't say so. I think so. Yeah, as a maintainer, I can tell you also some things I don't like about the current code base. It's also not my original code in most of the places because the original author is different to start with, and we already have more than 100 contributors, so it's already a mix. So part of my responsibilities as maintainer to make this work and sustainable going forward with the code base. And part of that would be marking more parts of the code base as private, like this is internal, like intended to be internal. Because like you discovered, it was not obvious for you just by searching around the code base in MetaCPAN that it's supposed to be internal. So for example, I don't know, at least using the underscore prefix or something like that would make it more obvious. Currently, I don't like it's not like that already. It probably wouldn't be that hard to make this transformation, but that would also break everyone's code who already wrote it like that. So the challenge is more like the step-by-step dance that we introduce the private part, make the existing one an alias of that, put up a deprecation warning, and the next major release we delete it. That's gonna take some time. But yeah, what I would do in this specific case is more like we are repeating the same code over and over, already copy pasted around.
Yeah.
And I think I would probably put it into a module, or at least a different, or in its own subroutine, so I can just call it with some parameters.
Yeah. But that's not Rex part, so let's not do that. No. It's like regular Perl code, so
Exactly, exactly.
less interested in that.
That's what I said a couple of times. It's
Yeah.
transparently turning into Perl code, right?
Yeah.
You don't see the difference. If where Rex capabilities ends, you can transparently extend it with Perl. That's the same syntax and everything.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be a good exercise to factor that out, and then you can simplify this Rex file a lot. Another factoring out could be splitting it into modules. Right now, you mentioned the modules would be pretty small. It would be just one setup task and one configure task, probably. So it might not work to do it at this point. But if we go forward with the
Yeah.
original topic, you will have an Nginx module, you will have an Elasticsearch module, Kibana module, metric bit module, everything. So there will be lots of small modules. I think, yeah, I think it's probably different for each person or each use case. What is the limit to start splitting out? I'm fine with both, keeping it in one big Rex file. I think there will be a critical size when it's like, okay, let's just split it out. And at that point, it would be again standard Perl. You put it into librex nginx, and you use a namespace for package rex nginx. And in the Rex file, you import it with require Rex nginx or use Rex nginx.
Okay.
All right. What else to rewrite today?
Yeah, we don't have much time, but
That's why.
do you have anything else here to improve on this one? I mean, except of this refactoring out, the run, can we declaratively say that I would want this module to be enabled?
Yeah, that's one we can look into. For that, maybe, okay, do you know which command gives us a proper return value about whether an Apache module is already enabled or not? It feels like a true or false, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
If we know that command, we can just add an unless option to run, and that would be like only running if it's not enabled yet.
Okay, let me just check.
And
wait a second. So I need this. Why does it?
I think you are connecting to a different host now somehow.
Yeah, well, why?
That's a different IP. What would you like to do?
Wait. That's the old IP we had.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
too many IPs. 140.
So to go fully declarative in your code about Apache module enabling and disabling, what I would do is write a subroutine which called Apache module.
So let's say Apache check if a module is enabled.
Apache 2 control -m. Looks like printing a list which we can grep.
But so the command is A2EN mod.
Yes.
So
Apache 2 enable mode.
A2 Apache 2 something.
Yeah, it's Apache 2 enable module, A2N module.
Okay. There's the disable module,
Yes, that's the this module. Yeah.
but I don't see any of the query.
I think it's Apache 2 control. No? Oh,
Well,
okay.
they said something that's something else. Maybe this is the right one.
Yes.
I was wondering.
But you can see it's also -m and lists all enable modules if no argument given. A2 query should be good. But I think Apache 2 control -m should be good too. It's probably the same. So we can
Wait, you saw a control here?
Yes, A2 query.
A2?
No, I didn't see the control because that's Apache 2, not A2.
Yeah, okay, so this one.
Yep.
So, and then grep.
I probably would go with grep -uppercase P for Perl regexes, so I can write a word boundary because we are matching
Like this?
on the subs. Yeah, we are matching on the sub pattern inside.
It didn't like me.
Think, yeah, I think you need to put it there. Yeah. And then
whatever warning is there.
Yeah, exactly. Please do that. Yeah, it's no, it's the zero.
Yeah, okay.
The zero return code is from grep, indicating that it did find the module. It did find the match.
That's what I wanted to check, verify is something that's not there. So this one needs to be exit code 1 or 0 if it's already there.
Yes. So if you go back to the Rex code and to the run A2N mode.
No. I don't know how to copy paste.
Just continue the command.
Sorry?
Yeah. Just continue the run command. I think it would help if you look at the example first and then you write it. If you go to the documentation of Rex commands run, I also open it right now. No, it's Rex commands run. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the module. Exactly.
Ah, okay.
It's in its own module. If you scroll down a bit more, you can see all the options there. There's this unless option, which you can pass a condition command. So if you go down for examples, there it is. You can just continue your existing run command. It's something like that. Yeah, I think I would put it inside the parentheses.
What?
In the example, on the documentation, there's no parentheses, so it's just like two different or three different parameters to the run command. I think if you use parentheses,
okay, so here
it should be inside that because it's all parameters to the run.
Okay.
Command. Yes. Unless, and then you paste your command there. Yes. So it will first run the unless command, investigates what was the return code, and decides if it has to be executed or not.
Okay.
But
and now if this run,
you need to quote it properly, because no, it's not.
yeah, wait a second. What does this run return?
The command's output, which
The
is
output.
the auto-end mode.
Hmm?
It's the auto-end mode command's output will be returned. But now it's incorrect syntax.
Yeah. Wait a second.
Yep.
So this needs to be put in.
Double quoted or something. And also, you are operating on proxy HTTP, but checking for proxy module. That's a mismatch. And there's also
Okay.
typo. So please fix that. Yeah. So right now,
Wait a second for
you can put it into a for loop.
my module.
Don't trust
Almost
me.
I can write. I don't know what I wrote here. CGID, proxy, and proxy HTTP. Then we do, and then double quote. Module. And here I also have module. And
then you need a QQ.
Yeah, but and then I have to double quote this.
Could be.
Yeah, because now phone ringing. Okay. Maybe it means that we'll have to stop. Anyway.
Yeah, take it if you need it. No, you just need to close the for block.
That would be a good idea. And it's called set Up Apache.
Yes, I think it would be good.
Yeah, so the thing is that for my demo purposes, for the article, this is now a bit too complex because there is no question, the module is not there, we have to install it. For real world code, that's if it was production code, then it's better.
Yeah, yes, and I would just extend this same idea with a final thought. Now you have a single run command to declaratively enable an Apache module. That would be a good candidate to put it into its own Perl subroutine. So from Rex code, you can just call it that give me this module, and you offload it to that subroutine.
Okay, so you say that.
See what I mean? Like it could be outside between two tasks. No, what I mean is between two tasks. Yeah, or Apache module. But yeah, I would just call the subroutine auto-end module, because then it's clear what it does. No?
Okay.
I mean, so between two tasks, it would be auto-end mode, right? And then you just pass a single, parameter.
And this is the subroutine.
This is a subroutine. Either here inside the task or between the tasks. Or
yeah, no, I'm going to move it out. I'm just
yes, sure. But locally it should work. Yeah, my module shift for that. Yeah.
I'm going to move it out. I'll just write it here.
Yes.
So And we don't know if it really works because now it's already there, but
let's disable something manually.
yeah.
And then with the same spirit, you could just call it Apache modules and pass multiple parameters. Do you want to disable or enable it? Then based on that, you choose A to this mod or A to N mod, and the same run one. So that's how you develop your own automation, and all those would go into an imaginary Rex module Apache, which could go to cpan as the Apache module for Rex. So yeah.
Okay.
As you can see, it already started to blow up in scope. So that's why I think it's hard to make generic modules. But anyone would like to take up, just reach out and I would be happy to help.
In my opinion, that should be like start building something, even if it doesn't start the Apache module that serves your purposes, and put it on cpan and make it easy for others to contribute to that. And then other people who will need more features will help. Not that it's no expectation that someone is going in my opinion, writes everything that needs to be done with Apache, because if I don't, I mean, normally if I don't need it, then why would I write it?
Yes, to me personally, the case was most often that, of course, I had to write some of these for specific use cases, which were just really specific to that use case. And I was not allowed to share that code back because it was under the client's or the company's intellectual property, right? But yes, definitely it could be put into cpan, yes.
Okay.
So that's the future. That's what we build now, because of course we have to have examples for that, and also encourage people to do that, because previously there was a central repo called Rex recipes, but that was like not working, not scaling well. When we have cpan, we don't have to roll our own. So that's already, I think, a good place to start picking up modules if someone's interested. That's what's happening today, like I already mentioned a couple of times. There's a template toolkit module. It's going to cpan. It's under Apache 2 license, and we can do that.
Okay.
And even the original author gave it consent. So yes, let's move it there. So yeah, that's what I work on in the background.
Okay. It was great. Thank you very much for today. Let's stop the recording now, and then
sure.
then maybe after recording we can have a couple of more minutes to discuss a couple of these ideas that might not need to be public for now. So we don't record them yet. So thank you very much, and hopefully we can continue later on with the improvement. I mean, we discussed 3 things that we would like to do, and then there were a couple of more, and we managed to do basically 2. The restart and reviewing this code and improving it a lot. So it wasn't just review. So thank you very much.
Yes, I think it was a very nice session today. We covered a lot of ideas, and I believe you have even more ideas how to go forward.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching the video. And obviously you have to now like it and subscribe to the channel, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you.